So they took childish dialogue and put it into a teenager/adult movie and figured that would be okay, and it's not okay. Hey, this is The Sword and the Pen Reflections. It is my casual alternative to my more formal channel, The Sword and the Pen, link up there. This is a spoiler-filled review of 65, the movie starring Adam Driver. And I'm saying spoiler-filled, but quite honestly, if you've seen the trailer and you watch the first 10 minutes of this movie, you're gonna understand what it is. This movie was very predictable all the way through. Nothing in it was a surprise. Nothing in it made me go, oh my goodness, I did not expect this, or wow, I think that's really creative what they decided to do here. The story is about a man named Mills who is part of a highly advanced society that is exploring the stars. His daughter is sick. She needs treatment. So apparently they don't know how to... They know how to travel the stars, but they don't know how to fix whatever illness that she has, and it's ambiguous. So he decides to take a 2-year job where he's going to be piloting some people who are going to be in cryosleep from one galaxy to another. And while he's gone, his daughter dies. And in the middle of his trip, his ship goes through an unexpected asteroid belt. For some reason, the ship could not detect that this was happening. And it crash lands on a planet that turns out to be Earth 65 million years ago. He thinks everybody is dead. They are all dead with the exception of one girl who can't speak English. So he and this girl are now going to trek across the Great Valley, because that's what it is, the dinosaur-filled valley, to the escape pod, which is on the other side of this valley, because the ship broke up as it was entering. And that's the gist of this entire story, is them getting to the other side, getting into the escape pod, and taking off. Oh, and there's one kicker, and that is that the asteroid that wipes out the dinosaurs is on its way. They can literally see it in the sky heading straight for them. Now, my expectations for the quality of this script were pretty high going in because Adam Driver picked some good independent films to be in. And I find him to be a very talented actor, so I was interested in seeing, okay, what has he picked? This is a relatively low-budget science fiction movie. It's around $45 million to make, which I know that's a lot, but for a science fiction film of this scope, or potential scope, that's low. The special effects were pretty good. They weren't perfect, but, you know, they were passable. All right, good job there. But my gosh, that script was so bad. Seriously, it felt like this was a children's movie that right before filming, they decided, you know what? Let's add some violence and scary stuff with these dinosaurs and make it maybe into a movie that teenagers and adults might enjoy. So they took childish dialogue and put it into a teenager/adult movie and figured that would be okay. And it's not okay, because that was some of the worst dialogue ever. I would say, oh, it was terrible acting, but I've seen Adam Driver do such a good job. And honestly, I didn't think the little girl who plays his little companion on the planet, I thought she was pretty good. But geez, what could they do with this script? It was just awful. I'm not going to go into the clunkiness of the actual dialogue. I'm just going to go into the fact that they were talking so much felt clunky. This is a survival against monsters movie, so why were they talking so much? And the little girl doesn't speak English, so why is our protagonist constantly trying to explain things to her just by talking louder? It was very, very juvenile, and the girl never seemed to misunderstand him. She always understood what he meant. So there was no point in her not speaking English anyway. Why not just have her be a little younger than she is now and be difficult to handle? You know, if she was, let's say, 9 or something, and maybe she's not somebody he can rely on to help at all or feel like she can do anything on her own at all. But she was like, 12 or 13. She kind of looked like maybe a young teen. So she clearly had the ability to do certain things on her own, but I don't know, it's just no good. So I would have perhaps chosen that they do something a little more artistic with this. Less talking, have him trying to mime things to help her to understand, and make there be some miscommunication happening between them on this journey, because otherwise there's just no point to that. Another thing that I would have done is I would have had technology be a little less convenient. So he crash lands on this planet, and all the things that he needs to survive pretty much work, with the exception of the translator for some reason. But his rifle works all the way up into the end when it is out of a charge, and then suddenly he pushes a few buttons and it recharges itself and now it works again. And he has these little grenade things that seem to be available to him when he needs them until the little girl uses up all of them. But then after that, there wasn't really an opportunity for her to use them or him to use them again. So it's like they all got used up because they decided they weren't going to use the grenades for anything anymore. And then probably the craziest thing was we had this all-purpose scanner. It does everything. It tells him that there's an asteroid coming. It tells him that the ship he needs to get to is over there. It tells him where they need to go in this tunnel that they've climbed into. It plays movies for them. It ends up being the device that that helps them defeat the 3 Tyrannosaurus Rexes. I think that's what they were at the very end. I mean, they looked like Tyrannosaurus Rexes, but they had these big arms. So I'm not sure that's what they were. But yeah, this tricorder thing, it did everything. It was the multi-tool of the galaxy, apparently, because it really did everything that he needed it to do. And it would have been better if these things did not exist. So I would have had technology not working for him at all, and have this man who is from a highly technologically advanced society have to survive a primitive world and not knowing what to do. That would have been so much more interesting to see him really struggling and trying to figure things out and remembering things, and that, what am I supposed to do to start a fire? That's something that wouldn't even have crossed his mind before, because he's never been stuck on, a planet or in a situation where he needed to build a fire before. So that would have been nice to have seen these sort of things. And one final thing that I would have done to improve this script is I would have had an escalation of the monsters in a way that didn't involve the monsters all the time. So I would have had so when I say monsters, I mean the dinosaurs. I would have had fewer of them, and I would have put them in not one right after another, so much as maybe in the beginning there's one that instills a fear in them that there are monsters. And then I would have had maybe one somewhere in the middle to make a situation that they were in more challenging. And then I would have had the big dinosaurs at the end. But what we got instead was this constant stream of monsters. It was every minute there was a new creature, and there wasn't a challenge of how do we survive this natural world. It was always just the challenge of how do we defeat this dinosaur and continue our journey forward. I would have liked more variety in the type of challenges that they are facing, because then it just felt bland. It felt like I'm just watching the same thing happen again and again and again and again all the way through. Even when they're stuck in the cave, when they're trying to tunnel their way out, it was because there was a monster outside and then there was another monster inside the cave. And it was over and over again, we're running from a monster. So let's have less of that. And honestly, where were the herbivores? There were no herbivores in this. Not that I recall seeing. Maybe there was one. Was the one they pulled out of the tar pit, was that an herbivore? I don't know. Either way, it was just bizarre that it was all carnivores that were hunting them for some reason, but whatever. In the end, I feel like there was just very little thought put into making this a more mature script. And so it felt like a children's script made for an adult movie. And that's just not good. But anyway, let me know what you thought. Did you think, like I thought, that this was just very juvenile writing and a total disappointment? Or did you think it was great? Was there something in there that I missed? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you're feeling really generous, maybe check out my Ko-fi or Patreon and Ko-fi. I never get this right. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.